Welcome back to the Healing Wellness Show, sponsored by Iowa Wellness Center. I'm Dr. Kareem, and today we're going to be talking about why inflammation changes everything in the body. I'm joined with Mark. Mark is going to be asking me questions today from the audience, and we're located here in the corridor area in North Liberty, Iowa.
Today, we're going to be talking in episode 7 about inflammation and weight loss resistance, called the hidden barrier. One of the biggest questions that we have right now is, how does inflammation affect weight?
Well, what it does is it increases the stress hormones, which worsens the insulin resistance, and that in return kind of will impact your metabolism. So that's how, in as simple as possible, is that's what occurs in the body.
Okay, what would you say? What causes chronic inflammation?
Lots of different things can cause chronic inflammation. So foods that you're constantly eating all the time, or same foods, because a lot of times they're processed, that could cause inflammation. So typically when you're eating something that the body doesn't like, it typically will be toxic in the body for about 5 to 7 days. So if you're constantly eating that over and over, whether it's every day or multiple times a week, then that's where you're starting to cause that chronic inflammation. Also, stress. If you're always stressed, whether it's always stressful at work or, stressful family or stressed about the economy right now or money or, so stress in general can cause also that chronic inflammation. Not getting enough sleep. That's another big one. Like I always said, it's three things, and it's your if food, nutrition. If your nutrition is crappy, that's the number one factor. And then it's exercising, and then it's proper sleep. So if you're tossing, turning, waking up multiple times, getting up multiple times, not getting into that REM sleep, then that's going to affect also your inflammation. Gut dysfunction. So if you've got leaky gut, that's why we test that on every single patient that walks in the door. Because again, we find that about 90 to 95% of the patients that walk through the door have a leaky gut. And once we address that, it resolves a lot of their problems, whether it's health problems or weight problems. And then just being sedentary. So, sedentary lifestyle where you're not active, you're not moving, you're barely having any steps. It's usually like 3,000 steps or less a day, or, you're a couch potato, or you're not being able to do your chores or anything like that. That all can affect as well, and have chronic inflammation.
What are some of the symptoms that suggest inflammation?
There's many of them. The most common ones that we hear is, "Hey, I feel tired all the time," whether it's throughout the day or after eating a meal, or, "Hey, it's the weekend and I just don't feel like doing anything. I'm just gonna sleep all day." That that chronic fatigue will suggest inflammation. Also, joint pain. So if you haven't, whether it's low back pain, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, that's all inflammation that's typically coming from the gut. So inflammation can also cause that. Brain fog. Hey, I walk in the room. I can't remember why I walked in here. I can't remember where I parked my car. I can't remember where I left my keys. So that brain fog also is a symptom of inflammation. Bloating is another big one, and that's typically because you're eating something that the body doesn't like. So that chronic, hey, I'm always bloaty after I eat, or bloaty after I do something, that is an indication. And then the biggest and most common one is stubborn fat or stubborn weight gain, where, hey, it's usually, hey, it's the weight gain around my waist area. I'm trying to get rid of that and I can't.
Why does reducing inflammation really matter?
Inflammation is the cause of disease. So that is very important, to decrease inflammation, because if you don't, then it's going to be a chronic inflammation over time, and inflammation is going to target the joints, or you're going to start to break down that joint, and then it usually will attack the nerve. So that's where you might start to have neuropathy, which is nerve dysfunction, nerve damage. That's where you start to have numbness, tingling, burning sensation, or cold hands and feet. And then eventually that could be balance problems, and then falls, breaks, accidents, amputation. That's inflammation. So we need to keep that body as healthy as possible. especially internally, so everything can function properly. So, I mean, I could give you lots of patient testimonials. We've helped thousands of patients out there, but the biggest ones that we'll see all the time is patient that'll come in and say, "Hey, I've tried A through Z diets out there. I'll lose the weight and then gain it, or I'll lose it and I'll plateau and I can't lose anymore." Well, that's because of that chronic inflammation in their body. And that's why we need to look at you as a whole. We need to address everything as a whole. And then when we create a program for you, it's customized to you and your goals. And that's where we're going to evaluate your gut health. We're going to evaluate your hormones. We're going to see what's best for you. And if we need to give you, exercise program as well, or connect you with a trainer, then that's what we're going to do. So on the next episode, we're going to be ending the series with hope and what sustainable weight loss really looks like.